What's up guys and gals, Mike here with Morrison's Outdoor Adventures, and we are here with another tip video for you. So a lot of you have been asking us about lighting, right? Both in our classes and online. We get a lot of messages about lighting, and over the years we've been hesitant really to delve into this topic because we had limited knowledge, right? We know how lighting can affect your resting focal length, your driving ability at night times, your driving ability at speed at night times. But as far as really identifying what lights were good for you in your vehicle, we weren't really the subject matter experts at that. So we happened to run into Baja Designs at an event and Sarah spent about an hour in their booth talking with them, and they have really kind of taken a step forward in teaching more about lighting. So we decided after some conversations kind of partner and kind of help spread some of this information, right? So they've done two things that I think are really, really cool in helping us understand lighting, right? You know, you go to a lighting manufacturer and you start reading about the light and it's like, hey, output at this, candelabra, blah, blah, lumens, whatever. Right, that's all good and well, but really understanding how that affects it when you're in the driver's seat or when you're outside the vehicle is important. So rather than focusing on those terms and those things, what Baja Designs has done is they have changed their way of kind of putting that information out. So two things that they've done. Number one, they've created lighting zones, right? And those lighting zones, we'll touch on those a little bit later, but basically those lighting zones have specific lights that fit well in those zones, right? If we're looking for a cornering light, there's no need for that to be a spot, right? Or if we're looking for a driving combo light, then now we need something that is both a spot and a flood. Or if we're looking for fog lights, specifically for fog or dust, do we want amber or do we want clear? So they created these lighting zones for your vehicle to help you choose the correct thing, and then each one of their lights they label and fits in that lighting zone. So for instance, if you look at, I think it's one of the ones we have here, which is their Sports, S2 Sports, I believe they fit into the 1 and 2 range of their driving. They've developed these lighting zones and they've kind of put each one of their lights into a category to fit into specific lighting zones, which is really nice for those of us that, you know, either aren't necessarily light geeks or really want to delve into that topic, or if you're like me and you want to be more educated to help other people understand, it makes it really easy for us to get that information and learn. Now, that doesn't do a lot as far as telling us much about output and lumens and angles and all this different stuff, and you know, we don't have light measuring devices and stuff like that. Well, Baja Designs does. The other thing that they've done is they've created what they call an ELS, which is their effective lighting score, right? And it takes into account several different aspects of the lighting, right? Number one, how well it blends throughout its spread, what degree does it spread at, what's the distance it throws, that type of thing. So having that effective lighting score, or ELS as they call it, for each one of their lights really lets us know what their performance is. And that really, for again somebody like me, kind of caveman brain, right, makes it easy for us to really start picking out the correct lights for the correct situations. So learning a little bit about lighting zones, right? So they've broken out into these lighting zones. Zone 1 is dust and fog. Basically that illuminates the area directly in front of the vehicle for use during rainy, snowy, or dusty conditions, right? Really fits well in the automotive world, but also motorcycles, UTVs. Zone 2 is for cornering. This could be like your ditch mount lights or your front bumper lights angled out, and they provide cornering and peripheral light, right? So that light that kind of spreads out a little bit, which is, you know, necessary, especially when you're driving at speed, okay? You're high speed through some dunes or something like that, out west, any amount of speed, that really helps with making those decisions with your turning. Zone 3, that's driving combo, and that's your primary driving light and most important zone to start when building a balanced light package. Zone 4, right, this is very applicable to speed. So this may be dependent upon those of you that are doing high speed or low speed, crawling, that type of thing. But this zone is your first level of long distance lighting, right? Lights intended for this zone will give you the distance needed when you travel at speeds and see safely down the road or the trail. You can effectively, if you're going fast enough, outdrive your lights, right? That's why like racers, Baja guys, all that kind of stuff, they have really, really good spotlights. And then they do have Zone 5, which is like racer edition spots, because you know Baja does offer racer edition lights and that kind of thing. Zone 6 are rock lights, right? And coming from a trainer standpoint or a spotting standpoint, rock lights are almost a necessity for nighttime wheeling, somebody spotting you. Because I can't see if your headlights are pointing at me, but if you have your rock lights on, now I can see underneath that vehicle a lot easier. I've even been known to duct tape some little lights to bumpers and stuff like that to be able to see. But rock lights, you know, they can illuminate even wheel wells, undercarriage, or any other part of the vehicle underneath the vehicle. For overlanders, right, rock lights can do a really good job of lighting up the ground when you're at your campsite without giving you direct light into your eyes. Zone 7 that they've created is cargo, so this could be the bed of your truck, inside your vehicle, dome lighting, stuff like that. Anything that you can need quick access to. You know, it's nighttime, you're trying to get to your tools because you got a flat tire. It's nice to have a brighter light that you can turn on and kind of see what you're doing. That's why they've taken some of those smaller rock lights that they have and turned them into dome lights that you can kind of switch on and off, which are really nice. And then Zone 8, backup and reverse, okay? So backup and reverse lights are super important in the sense that not just do we want to have directly behind the vehicle, but they do have to kind of spread out and have a little bit of that wider throw to it, right? Because if we're backing up and turning, then it becomes a big deal. And we want to be able to look in our side view mirrors and back up, not just our reverse cameras. And then call it their Zone 51. And again, this is mostly for racers, but that's their kind of laser series zone for their lights that are throwing far enough out for like triple digit style racing. Not necessarily applicable to the kind of stuff we're doing. So that's their lighting zones, and if there's interest in it, then we'll get a little bit more into how different lens patterns and stuff like that in a later video kind of applies to that. But we will lay out those lighting zones with the lights that we're going to be putting on the Land Cruiser. Now a little bit more about the effective lighting score, right? The effective lighting score, or ELS, that Baja Designs has created takes into account 4 kind of factors, but it's the blend angle, right? And what the blend angle is, it tells us how wide the light beam pattern is going to be in degrees. Okay, so it's how wide does it spread. Obviously, like a fog light or something like that, or a cornering light, we want a lot more spread to it and a lot more degrees. But maybe a spot, we want a whole lot less. But what is blendability, which is the next thing that it takes into account? How that describes how evenly the lumens are distributed across that angle. Okay, so for instance, if you have a driving combo light that has spot and fog, how evenly are those lumens distributed? Is it mostly spot with just a little bit of light thrown to the side, or is it evenly distributed or a smooth blend, right? So we want to know a little bit more about that blendability, and they have a scale, basically a 0 to 10, that kind of lets you know kind of how well it blends or how much of a sharp cutoff there could be. And then in the distance, right, really like lumens and stuff like that, this really plays into, you know, I don't know how far a lumen throws or how well lumens go over a certain amount of distance. I just want to know how much distance or how much throw I'm getting out of a light. I don't want you to come back and say, well, it has this many lumens at this many. I just want to know the distance, right? Let's keep it simple. So that's kind of what they've done with the effective lighting score, is they've kind of just let you know, hey, we're going to throw this amount of distance. And then the final key factor is the light output. And, you know, with the light output, that's where they're measuring the lumens and how many lumens these lights are putting out. And I guess from a scientific standpoint for like Baja Designs, that definitely plays into a certain amount of distance, right? How many lumens are being spread out over the blend angle and the blendability. So you really want to know kind of that output of that light. And it does add a comparison to other lights. You know, higher output obviously is something that we want versus lower output, but there are limitations to DOT legal lights and how much output and that kind of stuff that they can have. But that's the effective lighting score, and it really breaks it down into those 4 key factors that we can kind of look at and measure lights against each other so that we really know what the best light is. So now what Baja Designs has done, you know, with us kind of partnering to learn more about this subject, is they sent us some stuff. Basically, we sent them our vehicle, right? And they kind of educated us and said, okay, this is how we think you guys should lay out your light, right? You should have, you know, this zone, this zone, this zone, based on what your use is. So they sent us some lights to kind of test out and see how it looks. And we're going to install these, but you know, obviously not everybody's going to reach out to Baja Designs. You probably inundate them with a ton of phone calls, but doing your own research, right, you can go check out those light zones, and hopefully this video helps you. But what they've sent us is, the first thing is a pair of what they call the S2 Sports, right? These S2 Sports that they've sent us here, these are going to be our backup lights. So we're going to put these mounted in the bumper as backup lights. These are the flush mounts. So we're going to get the opportunity to kind of cut into our bumper, drill and mount them in place, and give us a good backup camera for when we're having to reposition on the trail, or if we need to work behind the vehicle and that sort of thing. That could definitely, or if somebody's tailgating us, right? Not really, don't do that, it's illegal. But the next light that they gave us here, this is the S2 SAE pair, and these are, to my understanding, these are true DOT approved lights, right? So they gave us these because with our bumper, we lost our fog lights with our bumper. So we're going to mount these into the new bumper. Have to do a little bit of fabrication on it to get them in there, but we're going to mount these in there because they are a DOT and they're amber, right? So they're going to give us a lot better in dust and fog, which is something that we struggle with, honestly. And you know, our 1999 Land Cruiser, I'm pretty sure when they made the lights for that, they measured it with a candle. So it does not have great lights when we're on the trails and stuff like that. So very excited to have that. We are starting to drive it more on the road, and so we can actually use these lights on the road. The next set of, the next light that they sent, right, was to give us a little bit of a driving combo for the front of the vehicle and help us throw a little bit more light down the trail. So we now have a light bar that we are going to mount into the bumper. And this is combo, driving combo, so it's got some fog. It is amber, so it's got that throw that we want as far as in dust and fog and such. But this light bar is going to mount directly kind of right in front of where our winch is at currently. And again, we'll have to do a little fabrication to get it in there, but kind of excited to have that output down low where it can shine through fog, or it can shine through anything that's going to be out there. The next light that we're going to talk about, this is one of their big lights, right? One of the big ones on the front. Everybody loves to have one of these series, but they have what they call an LP4, they have an LP6, and then an LP9. So they've sent us a set of the LP6s right here, right, driving combo. So we have the fog with the spot, and these are going to be right on the front of the bumper. And if we're, you know, traveling a little bit faster on gravel roads or something like that, now we've got that ability to throw a little bit of light a little bit further ahead, so we can make quick adjustments when we need to. Really excited to have these on the front, and again, these are kind of like Baja Designs, kind of like Mac Daddy light, right? And then the last set of lights that they sent, so they sent us one of their kits for their rock lights, that basically wiring kit and everything for one setup on a vehicle, all 4 wheel wells. We'll get a light, so we're going to have those rock lights when we're on the trail. Again, you know, kind of talking earlier, these are huge if you're doing any amount of night wheeling, and we get more and more requests for this. So having those rock lights really help us when we're spotting at nighttime, as well as they can help you at camp too when you're moving around, so you don't have to worry about stubbing your toe or anything like that. So really interested to get that set up on the Land Cruiser. And kind of show that off and learn a little bit more about that. They also sent us a bunch of wiring harnesses and stuff like that to wire everything in. So we're gonna go through that process and kind of get everything wired up, and then once we have it all installed on the Land Cruiser, then we will show you guys those lights and kind of how they fit into those lighting zones. So we'll see you guys when we get that done.